The next talk will deal with a label-free culture counter for rapid determination of phenotypic antimicrobial susceptibility. It comes from China, Dr. Yi, who will be a remote speaker due to the long distance from China.
Yes, thanks for introducing. It's my pleasure to give the presentation. Today, I would like to introduce a novel method to perform antimicrobial sensitivity testing. And this method is mainly based on a label-free fold counter, especially for rapid determination of phenotypic antimicrobial susceptibility. Traditional methods such as disk diffusion, A-test, and Bruce microdilutions are available to laboratories. For convenience, most clinical laboratories use an automatic system like BD Phoenix, Microscan Walkway, and VTech to compare supplemented with one more manual method of AST. Well, whatever the method used, the only information that the clinical laboratories needed, I think, is whether the pathogen is dividing after the antibiotic is administered. Therefore, a more accurate characterization of the response of bacteria to antibiotics would include changes in the number of bacterial cells. The strategy of traditional AST systems senses the change in bacterial population with the indirect method. Usually, it measures the optical density. If the bacteria is resistant to the antibiotic, the control medium becomes opaque due to the population increase, which results in the OD increases. But the OD detection has a limitation. To reach the minimal detectable level, the 7th power of 10 colony film units per milliliter are usually needed. So, 16 to 20 hours must elapse for bacterial growth. A general consensus among effective administration of antibiotic is inhibiting bacterial growth, whatever kill or stop. As a result, the bacterial proliferation presents changing in the number of bacteria. Hence, there is a reasonable prospect that to determine the antimicrobial resistance by number variants is the most straightforward. Here, we present and demonstrate the clinical application of a rapid AST based on growth counter for single-cell bacterial enumeration. As a reference method throughout the world for particle size analysis, the growth principle is independent of particle shapes, color, and density. Look at this illustration of a simple growth counter. It may help you understand what is growth principle. Here, suspended particles passing through a small opening between electrodes. It's a sensing zoo. In the sensing zoo, each particle displaces its own volume of electrolytes, and this is measured as a voltage pulse. The height of each pulse is proportional to the volume of the particle. Then a particle is counted. Such a system is able to individually count several thousand particles per second and size with great accuracy. The growth counter principle for particle counting has a long history, but the field has been applied to perform AST. Here, we developed a growth counter exclusively for the determining of the phenotype of bacteria antimicrobial susceptibility, combining the function of bacterial incubation, population enumeration, and data analysis. We use the growth counter to direct enumerate bacterial population with a short period incubation, and then count the number of bacteria in the presence of antimicrobials. By analyzing the variations in cell number, the phenotype antimicrobial susceptibility of pathogens can be determined. So, whether the system is able to count bacteria, two kinds of particles with the similar size, E. coli ATCC 25922 and 1.6 micrometer standard PS bits were chosen to verify this. And the gradient of particles go across 9 two-fold dilutions from the 5th to 7th power of 10 CFU. Similar results were obtained both two particles. The recorded resistive pulse caused by these particles showed good linear correlations between concentration and particle counts. That means the system is sufficient to detect bacterial cells. And moreover, it is able to discriminate enumeration of twofold change, as well as the standard particles. Bacterial growth of 10 strains and the most common isolated 10 species in clinical practice is further tested to determine whether this system could cover the most clinical pathogens. In addition, rapid assessment of bacterial susceptibility to antibiotics via quantitative detection of bacterial counts were also performed. We test 4 groups of E. coli with the presence or absence of antibiotic, germ, and incubation. Each site of suspensions was then detected by our system. The recorded spikes when cell passing through the apertures were distinctly different among those 4 groups. We roughly defined 4-fold increase in bacterial number as bacterial regular growth, and found that strains tested were all observed 4-fold change within 2 hours. Then, E. coli exposed to more antibiotics were tested. The tested antibiotics concentrations is 2-fold higher than its MIC value to ensure the bacterial growth can be inhibited. Time-lapse results collected over half an hour showed that the number of bacteria doesn't increase more than 4 times when exposed to the antimicrobials at the inhibition concentration. And the effects on bacteria can be differentiated by comparing the particle count within 2 hours. This proves that our system is feasible to define the 4-fold increase as the threshold and not affected by types of antimicrobials. All this, 2-hour incubation is enough. We then applied this system to clinical microbiology laboratories in our hospital. MIC results of 74 enterobacterial CA isolates with 15 antimicrobials were analyzed compared to the reference method, Bruce microdilution. For 1,100 tests, the absolute categories agreement is 90.18% with 30 very major errors, 8 major errors, and 71 minor errors. As the results performed by both the golden method and this new method are constant, the accessibility of verification testing is above 90% for category agreement. Our test is 90.18, showing this growth counter-based method is accessible for the clinical use. This slide gives the overview of this novel AST system and may help you easier to understand. Now, let's make
You
a
have
conclusion.
2 minutes.
The growth counter-based AST system theoretically is regardless of bacterial species and antibiotics. It is able to determine the antimicrobial resistance by number of variants, and 2 hours is enough for colonies to results. In addition, because this method can detect the bacteria at a single cell level, therefore obtaining the results within a generation time is possible. The future work we will focus on performing susceptibility testing directly from the positive blood cultures and urine. At last, we would like to thank John Ryan for help in discussion and selection of clinical isolate strains. Several biological technology companies have already commercialized this system. For more information, I'd be happy to answer any question you may have. Yeah. I have finished my presentation.